Look, I don't think that the biggest issue here is that Aurora rotated in, the 7-month time span that she was here. Do I think that that's a good thing? Not necessarily. Do I think that it's the worst thing or a very bad thing? No, because I think that there's always going to be a very powerful aggro deck in the format, and that deck can do numbers at the local level. That's exactly what Aurora did. Not only is that what we saw this very natural progression from Viserai being the best deck as a Runeblade to the sort of next step being Aurora, a Lightning Runeblade, doing a very similar thing in some ways to Viserai, a very natural transfer of power if you're going from a Runeblade to a Lightning Runeblade. Very easy to go from one to the other. A lot of your cards can transfer over, so we see this natural progression. She's already a strong deck in the format, and a hero that can go toe-to-toe with her on the aggressive format leaves. She steps up. Of course, she does very well in general at local, tournament level things, like, of course, Road to Nationals, and as we see this past weekend, these past couple of weekends at the ProQuest level, she can do numbers, and she is very good across the board. Period, end of story, even at high levels, even if she didn't get a marquee matchup. I mean, looking at the numbers, looking at how she consistently did this over the past 4 months. Essentially since Viserai kind of made his slow exit in that RTN season. She was doing this. This is kind of how she functioned. This is not the biggest issue to me. It would be nice if she didn't go in 7 months, especially because she was the new player hero, and that's another contributing factor as to why she was so heavily picked up, so heavily played. Because if a new player gets in and goes, there's the First Strike deck, I'll pick it up and play it. There's the CC deck, the Armory deck, I'll pick that up and play it. Now I'll tinker with it, and I will use these cards to, play a very powerful deck. Like, she's doing what she was intended to do. That's not the problem. Of course, it not being 7 months, that would be preferential, and I think LSS acknowledged that in their most recent video. No, I think the biggest issue with Aurora rotating has very little to do with the fact that she actually rotated in 7 months, and a lot to do with the fact that she had a fairly recent Armory deck release. That to me is the biggest issue, and I think LSS agrees. Like, you don't want your heroes to rotate very quickly. We saw the same thing this past year with Zen rotating himself out of the Blitz format. And I don't think that LSS likes, obviously, they don't like when their heroes do this. And they shouldn't. That's not good for the game. It's not good when Zen blitzes out of the Blitz format. That's not good. It means that he was too powerful and he was not balanced. That is a failure. We can call it what it is. It's not good when Aurora, and specifically the Armory deck for Aurora, pushes the deck so far up to the top of the meta that the deck rotates. That's not good. And to me, that's the biggest issue here. It's not that Aurora rotated. It's that she rotated right when an Armory deck came out, and because of the power level of the Armory deck. And to me, again, it is highlighted by what was said in the dev talk. This is a big issue. That is a problem. That, and they agree, that should not happen. Can you make everything perfectly? No. Can you expect everything to hit on the way it's intended every single time? No. But this is the reason that Aurora, well, this is one of the big contributing factors. I won't say it's the reason, but it's one of the big contributing factors that Aurora got very good very quickly. When Skyward Serenade is printed like this, well, not printed like this, when it's printed the way it was and not in the way it was intended, that is a very big boon. And you can see the problem that it presented LSS. This is an Armory deck product intended to be the gateway product to get new players from the First Strike deck to the Armory level, into the door, into Classic Constructed, the fattened calf of LSS's machine here. This is the product that was meant to do it, and with hopes it would be the product that was meant to do it for a longer period of time than it is. Okay, so it's a big deal, and it is a big miss that this card was misprinted and contributed to the power level and the power spike that we saw Aurora take. This is not the only miss. I agree with Brian when he said this in the dev talk. He said that they looked at the possibility after Pro Tour of maybe touching Aurora and taking, something like Flicker Wisp. Which to me, I mean, Flicker Wisp is a card that you could take because it kind of neuters one half of the power level that is that deck, because the deck was flexible in that it could play combo, and the deck was flexible in that it could play just pure aggression, right? And so if you knock out the combo side of things, then maybe you provide the meta the writing tool, the self-writing ship. Writing, not writing, that doesn't make any sense. The writing ability to, bring some of those control decks into the fray and try to tamp down the pure aggression of Aurora. Maybe that is the answer, but they chose not to do it, and they chose instead to let Aurora LL. And I think we talked about this at the time, this is again like 3 weeks ago. I can't remember if I posted, I remember posting a video on it. I can't remember if I talked about whether or not they should make a change. I think I did. I think that I said that they should perhaps touch something, but they probably weren't going to, and instead they were going to allow her maybe to rotate. I think that's what I thought would happen. It turns out that was the case. I think that they should have touched something in order to keep her around for longer, but I'm not sure if that even would have been necessary, and we should check this actually. So as we go down here, as you see, Aurora ended with 1051. So she ended, let's see, 51 points over the mark, and they were giving 3 points out per win. So she ended a good bit over, but not a crazy amount over. So there could have been a world where if they hit something, maybe they even go so far as to hit like Flicker Wisp and something else, something more ancillary. I think obviously there's a very powerful card that you could have touched, and that would have been kind of hitting Acilio as well, which would have sucked, but maybe you could have pulled that away after she rotates. But Acilio losing it as well. I'm of course talking about Electromagnetic Somersault. They could have maybe touched Somersault, and that could have been the answer alongside of Flicker Wisp. I think that might have been the nuclear option in a sense, and that would have definitely tamped her down. But if you're looking to try and extend the shelf life of this very good, very successful starting point product to an armory deck product like this line, if you're trying to keep that line alive, that could have been the world that they, the choice that they made to live in that world. That could have been where they went. Instead, they chose not to do that, not to touch it. I think for fear of this creating this stigma that they're going to just do another emergency ban. They're just going to do another emergency ban, which I totally get. But man, like weighing the options, it's a tough choice. Tell me what you would do in a comment below. Where would you fall? Do the emergency ban to try and keep around this fantastic like entry product line, or avoid the future stigma and let the hero go because you know the hero is going to come back next year? That's the interesting proposition. And do keep in mind, it's not like the hero rocketing to the living legend status now versus in 5 months would have changed their plans whatsoever for releasing Aurora 2 Electric Boogaloo in 2026, specifically in May, June of 2026. Their plans were already set in stone. That is hammered down, I believe. At this point, it's like a year out. They were going to have that in the pipeline. It's probably, finishing being designed and off to the printer fairly soon. Period. End of story. Like that's already in the pipeline, along with whatever other heroes they're doing. Like, come on, Dromai has to be back soon, right? Like, there has to be some Dromai action. So I don't know which way is like the better choice. It's kind of the Sophie's choice, right? Like you would wish you would not have to make that decision, but in order to do that, you would maybe have to relook at Skyward Serenade. That might just have been the tipping point, because that card is so good. That card is so good. Now, this printing of it, I think, is so much better. Skyward Serenade feels like one of those linchpin pieces the way it is printed now. Which I know it sucks, you know, because like I can see the vision that they intended. Like, this is a cool card in and of itself without the pushed nature of Skyward Serenade. It's unfortunate because, you know, clearly they were designing something very cool and still very compelling, and it would have still been very powerful, but it would have pushed you to build the deck with this non-attack action card, build the deck with this blue 3-block, fantastic card still, but having to make decisions on how to actually play it a little bit more. I mean, it's like a nice homage in this way, in the way it was originally intended. It's a nice homage to Art of War, right? And LSS, they intended for it to be printed this way, and unfortunately it was not. For whatever point in the pipeline, it fell off, and this ended up being misread. For those that don't know, by the way, this is not uncommon, okay? I lived in the world of Dice Masters. For those that don't know, DM Armada stands for Dice Masters Armada. It was an incredible game. It's a game that unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but it was, you know, obviously still play it, but it's not like being actively supported. And I will tell you, holy God, there were multiple cards, every set that had something wrong, kind of like this. And that was a major, I mean, that's WizKids, owned by NECA, a major company. And just little things that, I mean, it wasn't like sometimes it wasn't a full-on like issue where the card was fundamentally changed. Sometimes it was just syntactical. It was just like, this was spelled wrong, or this was worded wrong, or there should be a comma there. Sometimes that comma actually made the card read and play differently too. So it was like, oh man, this is not uncommon. And it's sad that it happened in this way, and it's sad that it happened to a hero that was already very well set up to be a popular fan favorite hero. And people have been saying it for the past couple of days. Major kudos to LSS for being transparent, and I agree. The company's peerless, let's be honest. The people that work at LSS care, right? James cares. They love the game. They are committed to the game. And there's no way, shape, or form where you can expect perfection from a company. But we also need to understand that this is not good, and LSS knows that this is not good. And you can tell they're going to make changes to either development or testing or pipeline stuff based on how this ended up. And it's unfortunate that it did, because Aurora being out of the format to some degree, and I think even so, I know there's a lot of people that are like, good, Aurora's gone, she was too good. That's the problem, is that she was too good. It's not that she was like an unfun hero or an uncool hero. It's not like she was Oldham, let's be honest, am I right? It's not like she was Oldham. It's just that she was too good because of the cards that she had at her disposal and the amount of people playing her. That's really the unfortunate part. And I think LSS feels exactly the same way as I do. The biggest issue is that the Armory deck suffers. That product line suffers. It's not that she necessarily was going to go. She was going to come right back anyway. It's unfortunate that the Armory deck itself suffers, because I do think that was one of the better Armory decks that they've ever released. That was one of the better ones. In fact, that might, tell me in a comment below, is that not the best Armory deck they released? I'm trying to think of a better one. And I don't know if there is. I think that's literally the best Armory deck they released. And unfortunately, the hero goes way too fast for that product to really have the ingrained support to really flourish as it should have. And that's, to me, the biggest issue with Aurora rotating. Am I wrong? Am I in some way, shape, or form off base here? Let me know in a comment below. If you enjoy these kind of talks, make the number. Go to the other number. And as always, everybody, thanks for watching.